All right, a thread from Carlos Asuita. First, referring to a tweet by Ron Fournier. Ron Fournier tweets, "Trump won't wear a mask, but he'll take a magic potion." Carlos Asuita responds, "Just a reminder, Ron Fournier is the man who put the final nail in the coffin of Western journalism. He's the father of accountability journalism. As Associated Press Washington bureau chief, Fournier put out guidelines telling reporters to ignore both sides of every issue and put in their personal opinions in the stories they wrote. This was to hold people accountable. Journalists didn't tell you that they were suddenly writing opinion pieces. Since 90% of journalists are leftists, of course, only people held accountable were non-leftists. Astonishing perversion of once valuable commodity, news. Associated Press endorses accountability journalism, digitaljournal.com. Quote, "The new ethics are called accountability journalism, and the new bureau chief, Ron Fournier, believes that the conventional press model, where both sides of an argument are entitled to equal weight, is exactly what journalists need to avoid. Fournier believes those old journalistic ethics are what stop reporters from telling the truth as they see it." End quote. This is why Jim Acosta is such a psycho, and why the American press prints so many lies. They're telling the truth as they see it. Leftism doomed journalism long ago. It began with the philosophy of post-structuralism in the 1950s. Post-structuralists say that knowledge can't be based on either experience or structures used to define knowledge. In other words, knowledge is what you make of it. See where this is going? Then French philosopher Jacques Derrida invented deconstruction. Deconstructionists believe that language can't have meaning. These philosophies are used to demolish the ability to educate people. For example, a particular word was created as a result of patriarchy, violence, and whiteness, so the word, of course, has no meaning. All of this is negative. Post-structuralism, deconstruction, and accountability journalism gave us what we see today. Pure insanity. I mentioned earlier a call from a New Yorker who lied to me that he had COVID-19 but couldn't get tested because of Trump. The New Yorker said that Trump had forced the CDC to ban testing for most people, so he and I went to the CDC website together. Quote, "CDC has guidance for who should be tested, but decisions about testing are at the discretion of state and local health departments and/or individual clinicians." He read that with his own eyeballs, and it didn't change his mind. After an hour of raving at me, he said, "And now I have COVID-19, but Trump won't let me get tested." I had an epiphany. Ron Fournier and Jim Acosta aren't lying. They actually believe what they say even when they're reading the proof of what they're saying isn't true. A person can't maintain that level of cognitive dissonance without going insane. So they go insane. They drift gently into mental illness, to quote the English Beat. I'm not at all nervous. Donald Trump has already prevented the worst-case scenario. People don't understand that it isn't the COVID-19 mortality rate that makes it so dangerous. It's the toll it takes on our medical personnel and our resources. Doctors and nurses are putting in 110-hour weeks. Trump has recalled ready reserved armed forces, retired regular armed forces, and retired National Guard. All are medical personnel, and retired civilians are volunteering. We're seeing tons of leftists lying about everything. But this is suicidal. When it becomes clear that Trump took care of business, you're going to see more rage directed at Ron Fournier than he and his mentally ill cronies ever expected. So, this catastrophe is already turning out to be a gigantic benefit for Trump. The coming economic recovery will be the turning point. What Ron Fournier never counted on was a man who could defeat the press despite the freedom they gave themselves to lie. The press model only works if the target doesn't fight back and doesn't have a record to stand on. Nancy Pelosi will convene another kangaroo court right as the economic recovery hits full throttle. She's the best political ally Trump ever had. So be happy warriors, like Trump. The Maori haka has a war dance. When you understand it, you get it. I die, I die, I live, I live. I die, I die, I live, I live. This is the hairy man who fetched the sun and caused it to shine again. One upward step, another upward step, an upward step, another. The sun shines. Words have meaning, Ron Fournier, such as flop, flat tire, bozo, nutcase, and of course, loser.